The Israeli military says the 6-day truce in Gaza will continue in light of mediators' efforts to continue the process of releasing hostages. The ceasefire was extended for a day after Hamas gave Israel a list of women and children hostages that will be released today. However, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to continue the war once the hostage and prisoner exchanges have ended. Well, let's speak to Avi Hyman, who is a spokesperson for the Israeli government. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Gary.
This could go on for quite a long time, given that you estimate somewhere in the region of 160 hostages still being held if Hamas continue to release them in this fashion.
Right, so there's still 145 hostages being held in Gaza by Hamas against all laws of war. It's a crime against humanity, and we set the deal on the table some time ago, and we said that for every 10 hostages that they release, we'll give an extra day of pause, of humanitarian pause, to enable that hostage handover. So we're continuing day by day. We know who we're dealing with. We're up against a brutal terror organization that on October 7th pushed through our borders, killing children in front of their parents in front of their children, beheading babies, burning whole families alive. So we take everything that comes out of Hamas, not with a spoonful of salt, but with a bag full of salt.
Well, but with respect,
day by day.
But you do have to deal with Hamas here, and in terms of your stated aim of destroying Hamas, is that possible if you want all of your hostages returned?
Well, it's not only possible; it's an imperative, because after what we saw and after hearing from Hamas leaders that are saying publicly that they will do October 7th again and again and again. They seek the genocide of the Jewish people in Israel. They seek to destroy the state of Israel, and their stated goal is also to kill Jews around the world. We can't put up with having a genocidal terrorist organization on our border. And so the mission of the war from the beginning was to destroy Hamas, to dismantle their military capability, to dismantle their government, and to free all 240 hostages.
Yes, but given your stated aim here, your stated mission, then there is no incentive for Hamas to hand over all of the hostages, is there?
Well, I can't speak for Hamas. What I can tell you is how we got to where we are today. The only reason that Hamas is releasing any hostages is because of the military and diplomatic pressure. They were hurting very, very badly, and they needed this pause desperately. So they came to the table. In the beginning of the war, they weren't open to hostage, to giving us hostages. But only after we put this immense military pressure, and only when we're still holding the stick, so to speak, will they continue to release hostages. But irrespective, we will plow on with our mission, because, we will free Gaza from Hamas. We will ensure that there is peace for the children of Gaza and for the children of Israel. We can't go on like this.
Well, it's not just Hamas, of course, who needs this pause. It's the innocent civilians of the Gaza Strip, isn't it?
No, the innocent civilians, as you know, from the beginning, we called on civilians to move from the north to the southwest.
But they've still died in their thousands.
Those humanitarian zones. Well, I'm not sure how many of them died, because there's numbers coming out of Hamas. And again, these are the baby beheaders, so I'm not sure if I know about the numbers. I know that we have killed thousands of terrorists, and that we are working surgically, as the IDF, surgically in a way that no other army in modern warfare has worked. 1.1 million civilians moved south out of the line of fire. We went in very, very surgically and strategically after the terrorists. Our war is with Hamas, not the people of Gaza. And let me remind you that that Hamas has been holding not only 240 Israelis hostage, but the people of Gaza hostage for 19 years. It is a brutal authoritarian regime where people do not have any types of freedom. So we seek to free the people of Gaza from Hamas, and we seek a peaceful future after that.
Well, of course, they would say that they've been under blockade from Israel for a very long time. We've now got the head of UNRWA, one of the UN official bodies, saying there's a deliberate policy to keep the inflow of humanitarian assistance in Gaza limited. Why would Israel do that?
So I can tell you that we're up to 200 trucks of aid coming through. Our interest is to ensure that the aid goes to the civilians that you were talking about. to save civilians, not to go to Hamas. It's interesting that you mentioned UNRWA, because UNRWA themselves, at the beginning of the war, I think it was the first or second week of the war, Hamas masked monsters from Hamas, gunmen, came and stole fuel, aid from UNRWA. UNRWA tweeted about it, and then UNRWA deleted it. Now, why does UNRWA have to delete a tweet in Gaza? Why do UN organizations or aid organizations have to do things like that? Because they're scared of Hamas. Hamas are the people with guns in Gaza. They rule Gaza with an iron fist, and nobody can speak out. Nobody can put out free information in Gaza, because they've got a Hamas gun pointed to their head.
But it's
so
not,
that's why
it's
any
not
numbers
just,
or any
not
information
just,
coming out.
But it's not just UNRWA,
Sorry.
it's also other aid agencies as well. We spoke to Oxfam yesterday. We've heard from others. They all say that, yes, 200 trucks is what you're letting in, but not nearly enough for the scale of the humanitarian disaster that Gaza's facing.
So we're working closely with the international community. There is a war going on. You know, it's ongoing. This isn't an ideal situation. It's not a situation that we chose. We didn't want this war. We didn't choose this war, but we have to win this war. At the same time, we'll work together with the international community to up the aid, to ensure that the aid goes to the right places. I'll remind your listeners that Hamas has systematically used aid over the years to, siphon it off for their war machine, and we can't enable that to happen. We can't enable them to dig up water pipes to make into missiles. We can't enable them to take water and food and medicine away from the civilians and use them as part of their war operation. I'll tell you, the people that have everything in Gaza, everything that they need, are those Hamas terrorists underground in their tunnels.
Well, Hamas says that the youngest hostage, a 10-month-old child, Kafir Bibas, was killed along with his 4-year-old brother and their mother in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. Do you accept that if hostilities resume, it's not just all of those innocent civilians in Gaza, it's the hostages too who are under threat?
I mean, we have not confirmed this information coming from Gaza, but all of Israel is dismayed, to say the least, at the idea that a 9-month baby was even taken as a hostage. I mean, who takes a 9-month-old baby before he could walk, before he could talk? He's being held by masked monsters with machine guns in some deep underground dungeon. That was enough for us to hear. But now we're hearing that they're claiming that that baby, who's now 10 months old, is dead. We're looking into this. We don't rule out the fact that Hamas could have killed this family. We can't rule anything out until we have all of the information. What we can say is that we demand, with or without a deal, that Hamas immediately release all of the hostages. There is no reason to hold babies and old age pensioners hostage. What does that achieve?
Look, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us on the programme this morning. Avi Hyman, a spokesperson for the Israeli government.
We were talking a little about